All right, the Hangout on Air is live. Welcome to the podcast show, the Money Lab podcast, the YouTube live version. Again, we always start off a couple minutes early before we hit the top of the hour, just so we can get that running, get that happening, give people some time to kind of chime in or start watching. Remember, if you're watching, you can see our guest here today. Cory, wave at the camera as he's checking his phone like a millennial should. No, but we're gonna have some fun today. I've known Cory for several years now. We work out a lot together, and so I thought, you know what, there's some cool insights that I probably don't even know that bringing him on the show is going to help out a lot of millennials who are entrepreneurs who made that leap, and that's what this year is all about: is helping entrepreneurs in all areas of their journey of entrepreneurship. If you're joining us on YouTube live on the chat, there's a chat screen right there, so you could chime in anytime. As we hit the top of the hour, I have to start the Spreaker Studio so we can have the audio version only that will eventually go onto iTunes and all these other platforms. I don't know where else it goes. The marketing handles that. But so stay tuned. I'm looking at the screen, so I don't see myself, but that's the camera right there. So all right, so this is going to be a fun week. This is number 2, episode number 45. And again, if this is not the first time joining us, you'll hear the full-blown intro as soon as the top of the hour hits. So make sure, like I said, if you see anything or want to say anything, just jump on the chat and just chat away. Hopefully the chat is turned on this time. Last week it wasn't. So, okay, here we go. Top of the hour. Are we ready? All right. All right. Welcome to the Money Lab live podcast, episode number 45, the motivation to stay motivated. All right, welcome back to another live broadcast of the Money Lab podcast from the Six Figure Academy. I am your host, Wei Hong, from the Six Figure Academy, of course. This is the podcast where we give you tips, strategies, and interviews with other entrepreneurs on how to create that ultimate six-figure entrepreneurial lifestyle free of bad money stories, money anxiety, and stress. Now, if you haven't already downloaded our free ebook From Money Anxiety to Six-Figure Mastery, make sure you go to http:// nobody even says that anymore, but I'm going to say it anyway just in case people do. Go.thesixfigureacademy.com and get it there. It's the perfect complement to all the things we discuss on the show, and quite frankly, it could change your life. Now, if you are joining us live today, and you are not on YouTube Live, waving at the YouTube Live people, guest, you can wave too. Make sure you get on Spreaker.com or download the Spreaker app on your mobile device and search for the hashtag the Money Lab, so that you can join us in the chat room and ask questions, interact with us and our guest, or even request a specific topic to discuss that will help support you in your quest for the ideal six-figure lifestyle. Now, while you're there, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode and you can catch us every week. For all of the ways to find us, go to thesixfigureacademy.com/radio for all the details. And if there's something you love about what you hear on this episode today, and I'm pretty sure you will if you listen closely to what our guest has to say, that could help someone you care about, remember, sharing is caring. Share this show to that person. Awesome. All right, great. So that's today's show. I actually started my day pretty early, but welcome to the show, Cory. Before I introduce you, say hello to the public.
Hello, public.
It's going to be a lot of fun today because, so Cory, I've known for several years now. And I think the first time we met, we were sitting together next to each other at a NLP training, right? Yep. And then from there, we just basically got to a point where I brought you into my digital marketing company. You basically took it over, practically took it away from me. No, I'm just kidding. You had more passion about it. Actually, who I have on the show today, we were talking about earlier, is like someone that I just basically hired off of Fiverr to take care. For those of you who don't know what Fiverr is, a $5 service kind of platform. I needed a virtual CEO and basically hired him off of Fiverr for $5.
For $10, I watch his dog every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Best deal ever. But anyway, in all seriousness, no, I mean, we could talk a little bit about the journey from your perspective, but I mean, basically, I brought Cory into. I mean, the story is essentially this: is that I was doing a presentation on what was it? It was on SEO, right?
It was SEO,
search engine optimization. And Cory was sitting in the audience, and then he came up afterwards and says, "Hey, do you recommend any books that I can read to learn more about this?" I said, I wrote a book. He says, "Okay," and I sent it to him. Next day, he comes back and says, "Do you recommend any other books?" I said, "I just gave you one," and he goes, "Oh, I finished it already." I was like, "Holy cow, that was like one night." And so that's when I realized that when I looked at him, I was like, I think he's really into this digital marketing thing. So I said, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you come on board and work with me for a little bit? Follow me and let me show you the ropes a little bit on how to actually run a business, not just know about SEO or social media, how to make a business out of it, and then see how you like it, And then from there, to make a long story short, he came in kind of like almost like an intern. I showed him as much as I could, and I said, "Here, start taking over a few things," and pretty much he's running the entire show now over at DigiWEI, digital marketing, right? So I was thinking, you know what? Even though I've known you for so long, there's probably aspects of your journey and your mindset and stuff that's going on inside that I think would be really valuable for people to, especially in your age range who are looking to start their journey in entrepreneurship. And now you're here. Now you're like 2-3 years running and handling all the ins and outs of that business now, right? Yeah. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Finally.
Been trying to get you out here for like an entire year and stuff like
That's
that.
True.
But let's talk about it. This is the money lab. So let's talk about, at least address the money story piece. So everybody has a money story, right? And some of it prevents us from doing stuff, or some of it motivates us to do stuff. In your particular case, what would you say your money story was? What is it that you grew up with and your understanding of how money worked and what the role money played in your life?
I guess growing up, I've always heard from my parents. My mom's probably listening right now, but whatever. They have always had money issues, like complaining about bills, not having enough money, certain things. So I guess it kind of sticks with you throughout your whole life. You always then you start worrying about the bills. You can't afford something. You can't do this because you have no money. And
so how did that impact your life? I mean, what would you say was the biggest impact that it had on your prior to becoming an entrepreneur and then after becoming an entrepreneur?
Prior, I guess I always felt like I didn't have enough money to do anything, I guess. And I felt like I was behind in bills, even if I wasn't behind in any bills or anything, because I had right out of college, I found a job, which I guess I was lucky because it was 2007. A lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And then I found
a lot of people are crashing.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I never had to worry about money, and it just, even though I had money coming in, I was always kind of worried that I'd never have enough or never.
So you found a way to worry about it.
Yeah, I found a way to worry about it.
Yeah. So did you find yourself making up stories to kind of help fulfill that belief system that you had to worry about money in order to, because I mean, if that was part of your home life, worrying about money and stuff like that. And if you didn't have to worry about money, at a weird unconscious level, was it kind of like, oh, but this doesn't feel comfortable. I should be.
It definitely prevented me from going out as much as I should, because I was worried about not having that money. Like, we're going out with my friends, going to restaurants or whatever.
Oh, so it kind of impacted your social life.
My social life, because I figured I didn't have money to spend, or what if something happens,
right? And that money was supposed to go to that, as opposed to you living your life.
Yeah, basically.
I am not going to live my life. I'm going to spend my life worrying about money.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that in terms of when you came out of college. You didn't start off as an entrepreneur. No. Okay. When did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or did you just come out?
I've always known I want to own my own business.
Okay.
But in college, I wanted to go work for a corporation, a big company.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's kind of thing what I was told. Actually, all my teachers in college said, "Oh, when you go work for someone," except for one teacher, and he actually came to one of the Life Voices events back in the day.
Oh,
and I told him, "You're like the only teacher that told me to."
I think I remember you
Professor
mentioned
Polk.
that. Yeah.
He's the only teacher that said you guys should all try to running your own business.
At least once.
At least once. He's
Right.
the only person that I've known in educational field that ever said that. Everyone else, my marketing teachers, because I had my degree in marketing, they all said, "Oh, when you go work for an agency or when you work for a company," and I was like, in my mind, I was like, that kind of sucks. I don't have to go work for someone. But then I guess it gets to you, and then figure when you're out of college, you have to go work for a big company.
Yeah.
Because I worked for Honda when I was in college, interned. Then after that, I went to a car company.
Car company.
Yeah.
Okay. So was it a comfort thing, or was it just like that's all you were told to do, and so you said, well, I mean, let's try. I mean, at what age did you decide that? Realize that I kind of want to be an entrepreneur?
You're
like 1.
That was probably when I got laid off from Edmunds, because I at that point at my end of my career ever at Edmunds, it was I didn't want to be there anymore. I was on vacation in Southeast Asia, hanging out, doing things.
Yeah, talk about that, because I think it's interesting, because a lot of people when they talk about laid off, they say, "Oh my God, that's terrible," but hearing because you've told me the story before, it almost sounds like you created it. Like you made it happen.
Basically, because we were in Asia and then just hanging out, and it was coming down to that time where you have to go back. You get that feeling like, oh, I want to go back, but I don't.
Right.
That feeling of I don't want to come back was a lot greater than me wanting to come back. Yeah. And I was just doing a lot of reflecting over there. Like, I don't want to be at this job anymore. I'm working for some company that their views have changed and not in line with what I want anymore. And it sucked.
So it was different after you started working there. They changed their philosophies, or
it seemed like the culture kind of changed. It just what they wanted when I first was there, I thought it was cool because I was also growing. And then at one point, I don't know what happened. It just things kind of shifted. I think it started shifting in myself. Okay. Where I didn't align with it anymore.
Right. So you grew. So they made it shifted, but you also grew as well. You step more into your own space or something. Okay, cool. So when you came out, I mean, you obviously had an opportunity to maybe like go reapply somewhere. Did you try going back and getting a job, or?
I did, but I was very picky because I got offers from their competitors to go work for them, and they would have paid me more.
Right.
For doing the same thing, and that didn't seem worth it to me.
So it wasn't the money piece.
It wasn't the money. It basically would have been doubled what I would have got.
Wow. And despite that,
I was like, nah, why go back to something I hate?
Right. So what was going on in your mind? Because a lot of people, they will, despite hating it, despite not liking it, they will still go because either they think it's the right thing to do, or they're just doing it for the money. I mean, especially, people just coming out of college and stuff like that, they have yet to kind of formulate their own little formation of who and what they are and what they're going to do and what their career even looks like. What was it that, because you know what I'm talking about. I mean, a lot of people just go from one job to the other and they keep complaining about the job. They're making more money, but they're still complaining about the job and they're not happy. How was it that you were able to not kind of like go into that space?
I felt like going into another corporate place wouldn't fulfill some of the needs I wanted. Like being able to work anywhere I wanted to, travel, and if I need to work, open my computer up and work.
Right.
And
where did you learn that was a possibility? How did you even know that was a possibility for you? Because I know growing up and stuff like that, that was, for me, entrepreneurship was so foreign. And I mean, it was like a theory, for, if anything.
Yeah.
I just not even being able to recognize that I can actually create my own hours. I grew up just thinking that there was no other choice but to work. And I sucked at it because I could never, I just couldn't figure out why. But how were you able to just say, be okay, it's like be picky and not want to just choose because that's something, and so early on in your career too?
Because I want to be satisfied with what I was doing. satisfied in my work, what I was doing, or if I'm helping someone. Because at Edmonds, I was doing some car stuff, and I didn't feel like I was helping anyone.
Did you learn that from school, from that teacher? Or, I mean, where did you pick that up from? Because not everybody has that. Would you agree, or would you?
No, yeah, I guess not. I don't know where I picked that up. That's hard to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's either friends from childhood or media, parents, school, teachers.
Might have been my family, parents, and stuff like that. It might have been from them. I don't think it was from school.
Were there a lot of entrepreneurs in your family?
Not so much. My mom, obviously, you know, my mom, she owned her own business and stuff like that. So it might have been, a lot of it might have been from her. It might, I think the entrepreneur stuff is probably from her, and it was on my dad's side. I don't remember so much. Even on my mom's side, I don't. Oh yeah, my uncle, he's an entrepreneur also, because he has his own graphic designer.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably more on the Japanese and Nozawa side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And it's interesting because sometimes we don't realize where we pick things up as kids, right? We just kind of watch and see and we're like, oh, okay, whatever, bubble. And then later on, it just like manifests itself. It's like, there was a seed planted and I didn't even know it planted. How sneaky, you know? And you wake up. But I mean, all's well ends well, because you were late. So when you first came to, when I first met you, you were laid off.
Yeah, I actually, right when I got laid off, I liked working out. So I decided to, maybe I'll try personal training, get my personal training certificate. And I tried that. I got it. It was cool. I helped some friends work out a little bit. Then I was like, I like working out myself. I don't really like care for
training other people.
I don't care for training other people.
Right.
And yeah, that's.
So you tried that and see if that was that was something that you would want to do.
And I was just really looking into other things that, what could I do that I might be good at, that I could turn into a business.
Right.
And
so what was it about, like, you know, the digital marketing piece or the SEO piece that really kind of, I mean, something flipped at that point. So like a switch that flipped on or something like that, right?
I think because in school I went for marketing.
Right.
Always been interested in marketing. And when I was at the other company, the Edmonds, I wasn't doing marketing.
Okay.
And at that time, when I met you, I built a website for a friend, and I was just wondering why it wasn't ranking. And when I took your course, and I was like, oh, okay, it just kind of opened my eyes up of what I could do. So basically, those tips that you gave, I did it to the site, and it worked. And I was like, oh, crap, I could help. I could probably help people out with this,
right?
You know. Especially where the internet was going, is going, and is now.
So when you chose your major that you wanted to study.
Yeah, it went from, when I first got out, it was really like, it was art, and then it was like graphic design. I was doing a lot of graphic design stuff because I want to be in the video game industry.
Yeah, what boy doesn't?
Yeah,
I ended up working there for a little bit too. So
it was a lot of graphic design stuff, classes, and then I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I figure marketing, I could get into any field or any industry I wanted to with marketing.
Yeah. And then you stuck with that.
Yeah. Even though I don't even remember anything I learned in college for marketing. So,
well, I mean, with the resources that are out there right now, I mean, marketing, I mean, you can Google.
Yeah.
If you Google long enough, you could probably get a lot of what they talk about in schools.
Yeah. Nowadays, you could just go to YouTube University and learn everything.
Whether or not it's accurate, it doesn't matter. It's YouTube. Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating right now. It's like, you know, the ease that, for example, like my nephew for a little bit had to be homeschooled, but, you know, because of how accessible information is these days, it's so easy to just kind of like be able to adapt and adjust and create a curriculum at home just to educate yourself or educate your children or something like that. So, you know, it's a really fascinating time, and I don't know how schools do it to kind of stay up and keep relevant, but I think they're adapting somehow, you know. I think there's always still a name, right? If you went to like UCLA, it's UCLA, right? Or USC, it's USC, right? It doesn't matter if you're learning something you could have learned off of YouTube, you know. So YouTube University or USC?
I think going back to that where you said I kind of manifested it myself, the laying off.
Yeah.
Right when I came back and I went my first day back at work, I got laid off.
So did you want to be laid off? I mean, when were you done? Before you went on vacation, you were done at work.
Before, right? I was done, and then I was basically, when I got back, I was already checked out.
You were checked out. And did they pick it up, or you just energetically just went,
I think I energetically
just put it out there,
threw it up on them, and
yeah.
And what my boss at the time, she went in, she goes, "So I'm sorry to lay you off." I was like, "Okay, cool, thank you." And she was like, she looked at me like, "Are you sure? Is everything okay?" I was like, "No, I've told you before.
I'm about to go postal." Yeah, that's why I'm so happy right now.
But I think because I've also told her before that I am looking. Before I left, I told her I was looking for other opportunities at places because this is not fulfilling something that I had.
Right. Do you know now what it wasn't fulfilling? I mean, did you know then, or?
I think what it was is what I get now is you work with these coworkers and it's all you work with. And that it's fun. I love those people, but it wasn't what I wasn't interacting with anyone else. I wasn't growing. Whereas when I took over DigiWEI, I had to grow. I had to go
as
out
an
there,
entrepreneur, right?
I had to go out there and network. I had to talk to people. I had to actually talk to people now.
Yeah.
Whereas I could go into an office and just sit there and chill, and I'd be cool.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Whereas if I own my own business, I had to put that effort out to go out there. And that's what I've wanted to do, because I see these people that go out there and they just start talking to people like they've known them for years and they just only met them 5 minutes ago. That's the kind of person I wanted to be, even though it drains the crap out of me. That's what I want to be able to do.
Right.
And networking now isn't so bad.
Oh, no, I've seen over the last several years you transition. I mean, I still remember the first time you went out networking, stuff like that, and you moved away from the crowd and just went off on your own and started talking to people. I was like, look at that, he's talking to people. So so it was good. So that's really cool, because now, a lot of times people go into entrepreneurship and then they think it's one thing, and then they go into it, they're like, oh my God, it's so much more than what I thought it was going to be. Did that ever happen to you when you finally kind of like embrace the fact, okay, I'm stepping into this world of entrepreneurship?
I think I've heard enough from other entrepreneurs how hard it was and stuff, so I wasn't worried about that. My thing was, since I am somewhat an introvert, everyone says they're introvert, but at certain times I am very introverted.
Yeah.
I was wondering, how would I get business? That is like one of the biggest things that worried me the most, is how would I get business? I
mean, that should be the question that every entrepreneur asks, when they go into business. It's like, it's a great idea, it's a great product, it's a great service. How are you going to get business?
Yeah.
Right. So since then, I mean, have you discovered some of the, the best ways that you've been able to bring in business, because you've been able to maintain the business and keep the business supported and your lifestyle supported over the last 2-3 years, right?
Yeah. Networking has helped me a lot. I think it's just got me out of my shell, meeting new people, learning from these people.
Right.
And not just having you as a mentor, but other people as mentors that ran their business, learning from them. And I think a mentor is important in all aspects of his career, life, working out, whatever. I think that has helped me a lot, just because I have these people around now that basically mentor me and stuff. If I have an issue, I just go to them.
Right.
And they help me out. And
so you don't have to navigate alone.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not running DigiWEI by itself.
Right.
I have people in my networking groups. They all help me, and we all help each other.
Yeah.
And it's a big kind of community.
So do you think, is it ever possible for and this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs do, they're in the 9-to-5 world, in the job world, so to speak, right? In the corporate world, it's really easy to just kind of be reliant on yourself, and you, right? Do you think that's a challenge for people who are looking to, because a lot of people wanting to transition, and they just and not knowing like how to make that transition, and when they make that transition, what needs to shift and change in order for them to be successful transitioning into entrepreneurship? I mean, what would be one of the things that you would say that the biggest distinction between working a job versus being an entrepreneur? I mean, you know how you talked about like having mentors and everything like that, but people at night, you know, corporate jobs
have mentors, yeah.
sometimes they have mentors, sometimes they don't, but they can actually survive without actually having mentors, right? If you have a 9 to 5, you have very clear set of tasks, you just do that all day. You know, I mean, would you say that's one of the important things that people need to consider, or is there something else that's more significant? What was the biggest difference between when you were in corporate versus an entrepreneur? Aside from going out and networking and talking.
Well, now being an entrepreneur is I have the freedom to try whatever I want. And
like business, new ideas and stuff.
New ideas. Where as a business in the corporate world, you have to ask your boss. They have to, their boss has to. Even if it gets to the next boss, it probably won't. So I always was going through these filters. Whereas in my own business, I could just try whatever I want and just do it right there.
Yeah, and if it messes up, then it messes up.
It messes up.
If it works, it works.
It works. Yeah.
Right. So what is it that you love most about the fact that having made that decision to be an entrepreneur, what would you say was the thing that you absolutely love the most about being an entrepreneur?
Definitely being able to see that I'm helping these businesses grow their business. And just when you see your client, their eyes light up and they get it and they see it's working, I think that's cool.
Yeah, even more so than the freedom now, because I remember when you said like at first having the freedom to be able to do certain things.
Yeah, even more so. Yeah, I don't know, just that feeling of helping.
Yeah,
I think if you read about all those great entrepreneurs or people that own their businesses, it all comes down that their biggest goal isn't themselves; it's other people, helping other people in the end. And I think that's what it is.
And was that always there when you stepped in to just like walk that path as an entrepreneur, or was there a point where it shifted? I mean, was it always about, you know, helping others? I mean,
oh no, I think at first it's just about making money.
Yeah.
Just I need to get money and be able to travel, get whatever I want.
Right.
It's just about money.
Yeah. And then, so where do you think the shift was, and why did that shift happen?
Why did it happen? That's a good question.
Oh, when did it happen? Let's start with when did the shift happen?
Is probably when I think the biggest shift was when I closed at our first big client, and right away they saw results.
Okay.
When he was a non-believer.
Oh, he was a non-believer.
Yeah.
How'd you get him? How'd you get him to like sign up for it? Then was it like a trial thing? Like, well, let's try it type of thing, or? He's
I think it's his entrepreneur side. He knows where it's going, where the internet is going, and he knows he needs to be there.
Okay. So he's able to see that.
Yeah.
So despite himself, he said yes and moved forward.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a big characteristic you need for being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So now, do you find yourself like your network and people that you hang around with, is it different now, or is it has it shifted? I mean, because when we change the type of work that we do, sometimes people that we hang around with also change and shift.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think back to where the kind of people that you're hanging around with when you were working at Edmunds versus the kind of people that you hang around now, is there a distinct difference, or is it more or less similar?
I think more so now they're more of the entrepreneur mindset, or they have their own business or something now. I still talk to some of them that I work with, but not as much. I think our connection, a lot of the connection was just because I worked there.
And why do you think that is now that you're an entrepreneur? Is it just because birds of a feather flock together? Or, I mean, why is that? Why is there a difference there in terms of the type of people that you hang around with now?
I mean, well, I noticed the mindset is a little different. My mindset now is different than it was when it was in corporate, where I feel like I have to climb that corporate ladder and get past that glass ceiling.
Yeah.
Whereas there is no glass ceiling and there is no ladder.
You could just like go hither to and fro without thinking about anything. Yeah. So again, guys, this is a really cool piece right here, because this is unscripted, unplanned. You're getting it straight from a millennial. I think he's like on the upper side of the millennials, of one that actually made that shift and change, and that, albeit with guidance and support and everything like that, that should you only just look, you should be able to find. So feel free to go to the chat room at any time, post a question, ask a question. And even when this thing is done, even if you're not listening to this live, post a question and ask a comment anyway, because Cory will make sure that our team forwards it to Cory and get his response on things, But you're at a point right now where you've been able to, I mean, you filed taxes already for 2-3 years for the company. So you've gone through a couple years of making sure that you're able to understand what it takes to keep the company open. And people talk about all the time is that, making the transition from being having a job and going to a lifestyle of an entrepreneur isn't always the easiest. And it's so much so that sometimes people don't ever pull the trigger. So what would you say would be something that you would recommend people do to kind of check in? I mean, I've asked this question for another guest before, but I've been curious as to, how it is for you now in terms of if someone came to you seeking mentorship or guidance or to ask you a question about entrepreneurship, whether or not they should be an entrepreneur, or if they're going to be an entrepreneur, what are the things that are must-dos to make sure that you make that transition as smoothly as possible?
I think the first thing would be if you think you want to be an entrepreneur, I say just do it. Not depending where you're at. For me, I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I mentioned this when I emailed you the description of one of the scary parts about me is I didn't grow up poor. I didn't grow up rich. I grew up in the middle.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That's
and you're a middle child.
And I'm a middle child.
Grew up in the middle in so many different ways.
When you're poor and you have no money, you have nothing to lose. You just have to go after it. And that's a good motivation for you. If you're rich, your parents have money or something like that. So you can find funding. Right. Whereas if you're in the middle, we get comfortable. Right. So if something happens, I could go to my parents or something. I'm comfortable. I could be comfortable in the middle and not becoming poor and not becoming rich. I'll just stay there in the middle. So I think that's how I kind of felt. I was actually talking with Carrie, my other partner, about this, is because we both kind of grew up in the middle, where sometimes it's hard to get motivated because we don't have to worry about.
But isn't that the same thing though? So let's talk more about that, because I find that's actually really, I'm curious about that. So wouldn't that be the same thing for people who are wealthy though? I mean, grew up rich.
I think it can be.
Because that's one of the concerns.
I think it might be how their mindset is. Because if they always know that they could go to mommy and daddy and get some funding for something, then they would. Whereas I can't go to my mom or dad and get funding because they don't. For an
idea that isn't grounded in something.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so it's one of those things where it's like you're in a circumstance where it's safest to be comfortable.
So yes.
And if you venture out of that, then it's precarious in either direction.
Yes.
Versus if you're rich, you can definitely go out and try things and not have to worry about the repercussions of it. When you're poor, you can. I mean, it's like you're rock bottom. It's like, how much lower can you go? You can't. Just might as well go for it, because worst case scenario, you go back to exactly where you were. Right. Whereas if you tried something in the middle, then you actually can fall below the middle.
Below the middle. Yeah.
Right. And if you and then the opposite direction, right? So this, so okay, I kind of get it now. I kind of get the whole, because nobody ever thinks about that. They always like to highlight, okay, well, this guy came from the projects and he came from nothing, right? Or this guy is like, he totally took full advantage of his parents' opulence and was able to use it and create more. But nobody says, this guy came up, because that comes across almost like a boring story, right?
Yeah.
It's like he came up from the stripes of middle class and fought to get away from middle class or to create his own middle class or whatever, right? So that's I can see where that, and I think there's a lot of people that are kind of in that same place, is that comfort. So what would you recommend people do if they don't want to be in that complacent space and they're not happy being in that space? What would you recommend for them to get out of that, or to forge a path of their own, even if it's another path of middle class? Doesn't matter, right?
For me, I just had to say I'm gonna do it. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go do it. And
where does one find that courage? Because a lot of people, they say, well, yeah, it's easier said than done. I'm going to do it. But
I was so tired of working for someone else. I didn't want to do it anymore. And I hated going into a cubicle. I hated driving to Santa Monica. I guess I hated it enough to decide I wanted to change.
Okay. So it was that aversion, like that away motivator that really kind of pushed you in that direction.
Yeah.
And would you say that, is that something that someone should look for in terms of if they're like struggling with that as an initial kick in the butt, or is it different? I mean, have you seen anybody else make that transition as well? I mean, some of your, I think one or two of your friends from Edmonds also made a transition, right?
Kinda. Well, some of them are just doing it. If you're too scared to jump the full leap, there's nothing wrong with being a part-time entrepreneur. I don't think there's any problem with being a part-time entrepreneur. And then as you're working with that, as it grows, and maybe you could quit your job.
Right.
And
there's something to be said about that too, right? I mean, if you're a part-time entrepreneur forever, then I think IRS looks at it as a hobby, right?
Yeah. But I think that's a little harder because you could always fall back on your job.
Right.
So if you could work those extra hours after work in your business and do it, I think you have to find that motivation somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it feels like that would be harder for me because I know I have this steady income.
It's like a pseudo golden handcuffs type of thing. Yeah. So that's a big challenge for a lot of people looking to make that transition to entrepreneurship. And even if they're working with an entrepreneur, working for an entrepreneur, and being paid like an employee to do it, and being around that energy, it's still like, how do you, and that's why I think for some people, I mean, the transition is easier to just go work at a startup, even though it's not your own business, you work as a startup, so it's really kind of like a dichotomy. So let's talk about what has transpired since, you made that commitment. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. What are some of the biggest takeaways you've gotten as an entrepreneur over the last 2 or 3 years, just to kind of give people insight about, what they should expect coming down the road in more general terms?
One of getting used to being uncomfortable.
And what do you mean by that?
Because most of us I try to avoid being uncomfortable. And well, you saw when you said, oh, we should start doing workshops and talking in front of people. Inside, I was like, F no, I don't want to talk in front of people. But I also knew that for me to get over how I feel in front of people and talking and doing stuff, I just have to go do it.
Right.
So getting into those uncomfortable situations and just eventually making them comfortable.
Yeah. Or at least knowing that you tried it and see if it works for you, because not everybody is designed, as we found that not everybody's designed to be comfortable in that place, you know? And then so now that you've had a chance to experience that, it's still something that is just kind of like
it's not as stressful as before.
Right.
I'm more comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
It does drain me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But knowing that I could go do it now.
Right. In a pinch, if you had to.
Is comforting.
Yeah. So you found comfort in that discomfort.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it has helped my business grow.
Yeah. And isn't that what growth is all about, though? I don't know if you remember, but I was told, like, when we go through our growth spurts and everything like that, apparently we get grouchy. I don't know. Do you remember?
I just remember when I growth spurts my legs and everything just hurt.
God, I don't even remember that. What is it about me? I'm just like, it's tune out all this pain in my life, and so I don't even remember. I mean, apparently, I think one summer, I grew like 4 inches.
Jeez.
And my mom's like, yeah, we had you in swimming, and you grew 4 inches. I'm like, God, wouldn't that be painful?
Yeah.
I know, 4 inches in one summer. I mean, who does that, right? And I can only imagine, but I don't. who knows? I mean, I literally don't remember. So, I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, yeah. Let's talk about, what direction you've taken the company now, because you run the company for the most part. A lot of times I have no idea what exactly is going on from day to day. What have you found has been critical in helping you maintain steady revenue and steady, because that's, I think, one of the biggest fears for a lot of people is like, an entrepreneur, it's not steady. How do you, as the title of the show today is, what's the motivation to stay motivated? How do you keep motivated in terms of, trying to make sure that you can, knowing that it's all dependent on you in terms of the income and the revenue.
Well, for me, what keeps me motivated is, I guess, knowing I could talk to people. Because when I get unmotivated or when I worry about something, I'll go talk to someone. That one, I guess one instance is when we had some tax problem with DigiWEI, and I was like, "Where am I going to get this money?"
Yeah,
and you're like, "Just go make more money. Just go get more clients." And I was like, "How do I do that?" And then I don't know, somehow I did it. I got more clients.
Yeah, I think it was like a week later you got enough money to pay off the tax issue and everything like that.
I think that was a big moment for me, where it's like, if I just know that I could do it,
right?
Get more money, if it's make 10K, whatever a month, I could do it.
Right.
It's just knowing that I could do it.
Yeah, and seeing it actually happen.
Seeing it actually happen. I think when you said it and it happened and I actually did it.
Yeah.
Seeing that happen, I think, helped me a lot.
Yeah, and it's such an easy thing. It says, "Oh, how much do we need to make?" Okay, just go make it. Go get another client. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I love about entrepreneurship is the fact that, when you're, see, for me, budgeting sucks, and so what happens is, and not to say that it's unnecessary, because it's absolutely important, just have someone else do it. But for me anyway, what I think is so cool about it, when you work a 9 to 5, you have a paycheck and you're living paycheck to paycheck. And if you happen to have a tough month, or you spend a little bit more than you like, which often happens in the holiday season, and then you're like, oh no, I got to pay this, or some circumstance comes up and there's not enough in the savings, and you don't have enough liquidity in your investments. You're like, what do I do? And then you can either go borrow money or get a loan. But as an entrepreneur, it's so dynamic. It's like, if you know what it takes to bring in revenue and you get that piece down, then it's just like, oh, I just need to go get a client. Let me follow up some leads, and go through my pipeline, go through my CRM, or go networking, or go run an event, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you could do that. I mean, I just like today, I forgot. I keep forgetting. Like, every time I go up and speak, somebody gets interested in what it is that that we do, and
just somebody. You get a lot of people that get interested every time you talk.
Some people, and it's fascinating because our team looks at the statistics and everything that I don't pay attention to, and time again they say, wait, you just need to go out and speak more, because every time you do, our revenue increases and our business grows, because we're reaching more people and we're helping more people. And I said, oh, okay, I just got to do that. So me knowing that, okay, great. Do I, worst case scenario, if I need to bring in more revenue, I just set up an event. I go run an event and I go do a talk or do a workshop or something like that. People show up. I was promoting that workshop and getting people to show up. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, okay, so let's talk about where you've taken DigiWEI. You came in and you kind of took over how I had set it up, like this SEO, social media, and everything like that. Since then, what have you infused in terms of your own ideas? Because you talked about that in your 9 to 5, that if you had an idea and it had to go through all this red tape and probably never get implemented, right? What are some of the things that you found that fed that part of you, that creativity of being able to try different things, and some of the ideas, and what it just translated to helping more people get results, in the digital marketing space? So what are some of the things that you've been able to implement that wasn't there before? Of course, you could say, no, the way you had it set up was perfect. I just had to walk it. No, I'm just kidding.
You had a lot of when you were running it. You had a lot of you had a lot of package. You were all over the place. I think.
Yeah.
I think I've just focused more. Whereas we're just doing a lot of it in the beginning was just SEO, and
there's a lot of chumming before.
So now I think I just in the beginning I just focused it on SEO, and that's all I was selling was SEO. And then I expanded that more with the social media, adding social media, and then Google Ads. So it's just been more. I've been more focused on those 3 things. Sometimes I do websites. I found out I don't like building websites for people.
Right.
I just whenever we have if I get a website client, it's from a referral. Not someone that came off the street or something.
Right. But I think there's something very valuable. I hope you, the listener, paid attention to just now, that when he first started, he focused on one thing. Right. And then when you got comfortable selling that one thing and you were getting consistent results, then you added another offering. And then when you got that down, then you added another offering. Okay. Do you think that having that step-by-step approach was helpful in making sure that you stayed in business?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because when I first got the business, I was still learning SEO also. So I just had to focus on one thing and learn that really well. I didn't have to worry about social media. I didn't worry about Google Ads, anything like that. It was just one thing. And that time, everyone wanted SEO anyways. Right. A lot of people wanted SEO, and they knew the value of it. So it just helped me, I guess, really focus the business and just do that. Yeah. Explain it.
Yeah. So it's one step by step. And I think that's really what it comes to. And what part of what I like to do is, have people share what they've gone through in their story and everything, and just like uncover, those learning pieces that are so critically important for someone who is thinking about doing that transition, finding that guidance to avoid all the potential pitfalls and everything. So it's really important. I think that was really a big, I agree too. I think that's a big contributor as to why you were able to stay in business and continue to grow the business and everything the way you did. Right. Yeah. So, we are at 15 minutes till. So what I want to do is give you an opportunity to, again, address the title of the show, which is, the motivation to stay motivated. How do you get the motivation to stay motivated? It's one thing to stay motivated, but sometimes we're human, right? So we actually fall out of that. Okay. So what is it that you do to motivate yourself to get back into that state of motivation, to grow the business, to do the business and everything? Because I'm sure there are days where you're just like, I don't do anything. Because I get there too.
What has helped me was it's really not doing the business stuff. It's really focusing on myself. Going out there, working out with you, rollerblading, jiu-jitsu.
Do people still rollerblade? I told you, right? Yeah. I went on a date and they were saying, "What do you do for fun?" I said, "Rollerblade." And she looks at me and she goes, "What? Who does that?"
If you don't have a big dog, you won't understand.
Yeah, exactly. And she's not that big. She's a medium-sized dog. She's like 50 pounds, less than 50 now. Yeah. So she's a little bit more normal. She used to be like almost 60. It was like, geez, nuts. But she's getting old. No, she's still spry. But yeah. So
what keeps me motivated is doing those things where I'm not in the business. It's just really focusing on myself. Like doing the jiu-jitsu, going out there rolling, choking people, and or lifting heavy weights, and
I choke people to stay motivated. Come here.
So it's doing those things because you can see it when I don't do jiu-jitsu, I'm just kind of
out of it or not into it. Yeah. So it's almost like making sure that you have a lifestyle. So how important is that? As an entrepreneur, compared to a 9-to-5 corporate job, how much do you think it's more important to make sure that you have an intentional lifestyle, or is...
I think it's more important because that's why we could become entrepreneurs, to live that certain lifestyle, live the lifestyle that we want,
or to create the lifestyle.
Or create
right?
the lifestyle.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, so that's actually how you stay motivated, how you get yourself back into it.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself falling out of it, you actually don't invest more time into the business per se. You just look at the rest of your life and say, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I learned that from you, but it's,
own it.
Because I could be, because for me, if I need to sit in front of the computer for hours and do something, I would do it.
Right.
And I've noticed my body, when I did that last year, I got sciatica, I had back problems.
Oh, so not moving your body enough. You were just like working, just like grindstone.
Yeah. You remember we work out, I could barely do a squat.
Yeah.
I was like,
I stopped doing squats.
Yeah. So it affected my body. So just,
okay.
I know now that if I go work out, I have to go work out. I have to go jujitsu. I have to do something active. And that is also good for my brain. That's where I get some ideas. I get blog post ideas or stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just being out there, just doing outside of, and that's kind of like taking the break from the business, right? Like on a regular basis, just so that you can kind of step away and see what's going on, get a look at the lay of the land, and then go back in. So that's actually really cool. I didn't think that you were actually say that I'll just, go do something that's not business related. That's how I stay motivated. It's like, oh yeah, huh? That makes sense. So let's talk about now that if someone's listening and then they're interested and curious. Let's talk about, in your own words, what does DigiWEI now do for the people, the clients, people who want to use digital marketing services? In your own words, what would you say DigiWEI does?
DigiWEI now, it's, if you want to get on, if a business has no online presence or has very little, or they're all over the place,
right?
We help bring all that together. If they're all over the place, we help bring it together so it's more focused. If they're a new business and don't have anything, we help them establish their online business. If it's SEO, Google, nowadays I really have to talk to them to figure out what they need, and I work with what they have and their budget, basically, and how we could help them.
So like what I'm hearing here is like, so if there's like a mom and pop shop or a retail shop that doesn't have a very strong online presence, and they're starting to lose to their peers and their colleagues and competitors in the online space, which is actually a great resource of leads and prospects, then what you can now do is going there and help them kind of create an online business model, so to speak,
or coach them on how to get online, or what they need to do.
Oh, okay. So now you do coaching and consulting as well.
Because usually if they don't have that budget for us to work with, sometimes it's easier for me to coach them on certain things.
Right. And for some people, that's all they need in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's way too much.
Yeah.
You just blow them out of the water.
Yeah. Usually, especially with the younger business people, I think they're very internet savvy, social media savvy. So it's easier for us to coach them.
Right.
You know what? You try it out, and then when you are at that point you can't handle anymore, you bring us on, and we'll handle it for you.
Oh, cool. So it's kind of like a soup to nuts in the beginning. If this is all you need, this is all we're going to give you.
Yeah.
And then as you grow, we can grow with you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. I found that has made our relationships stronger with these people. Because also these small businesses, they know other people, and they've also referred us to other business too. So it's, I like helping small business also, because DigiWEI was a small business. Well,
I mean, you by far, I mean, this is why I was so comfortable being able to just kind of hand this off to you, because you by far have more passion for this type of marketing in this business than I ever did. I did it because I went to school for it. I studied computer science engineering, and so algorithms and everything, I got it. Yeah, whatever, right? And I can talk marketing all day long. But in terms of just making a whole business out of it, that's why when you first came in, it was like chumming. I was like doing all kinds of different programs, packages. Everybody was all over the place, because for me it was not as much of a passion as it was as it is for you. And so it's kind of cool to see the difference of that is and how much more solid in its foundation and stable it is now than it was before, which is kind of cool. But anyway, so if people want to connect with you or get to know, I mean, you have something that on the website that people can immediately get to kind of like understand what it takes, or kind of get an insight of what it is that you're able to help them with. How do they do that?
All you need to go to DigiWEI.com, and that first button on the homepage, click that, and we'll send you a PDF or send you the book on, is it seven tips, 10 tips?
I think it's 7. Yeah,
7 tips.
Looks like 7.
Yeah,
7 tips on how to rank yourself or show up online, or what's that? Something like that, right?
Yeah, we've changed it. We've had some
updated as the world said. Let me look at the page right here. It says 7 easy strategies you can master yourself to increase visitors to your business. So basically 7 easy strategies, online strategies, right?
Yes.
That you could do yourself to get more prospects and leads for your business, whatever the business, right?
Whatever the business, yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if you guys want to do that and reach out to talk to Cory, and if you don't want to talk to me about it, that's fine. I won't take offense. You can just talk to Cory about it. You go to DigiWEI, DigiWEI.com, and on the button that shows up on the homepage, just click on that, follow directions, and you will get that free strategy book to get all the information on how to increase visitors to your business. It's kind of like if you have a brick and mortar and retail shop, and you have more people coming in, and you yourself are a great salesperson, then that's all you really need. You just need more traffic, right? That's what we call traffic. Okay, cool. So if there's one last thing, if there's anything that you would recommend someone who's on the fence, or someone who is like hating their work life, but they have great ideas, or or for a business or something like that, or they're thinking about making the transition, what would you recommend that they do? I mean, I know you said just do it, but that might be a little bit too Nike-ish.
Yeah.
So what would you say would be a great starting point for them to knowingly be able to kind of make that step in the direction of making that shift?
I do like to just do it,
but Nike already took that one.
Yeah, if you're just on the fence, I jump over that fence.
Yeah.
Every time I took a chance with doing something I wanted, it turned out fine.
Yeah. And just be open to utilize the resources and recognize there are resources around you.
Yeah. And knowing that you're not alone in any of the process.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people try to isolate themselves, because that's what they what education and the academic system and corporate world kind of teaches us to be isolated, teaches us that we do our own work and we have to kind of make ourselves shine per se, instead of collaborating or reaching out and getting support and help. And I think based on what I heard and what you're saying is that, embracing the fact that you don't have to do it alone was kind of a big component in you being able to do what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's scary when you think about owning your own business or being an entrepreneur or starting anything.
Yeah. I see a lot of people out there networking that says, I'm just starting my own business and I'm just here to meet people and stuff like that. And I think that's a great, courageous approach, because a lot of people don't even do that.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I don't want to look up stupid or look dumb or something like that. But instead, they just go out there and just say it, Whether or not they follow up with it, that's a whole different story. Yeah. But at least they're putting it out there, right?
In the beginning, I say go out there, start networking, get your business out there. Because for me, I'd never, like how some MLM, they say go to your family, get the warm leads. I've never advertised to my friends or family. I've always got my leads of people I don't know. So networking has helped. And I believe everyone should do it. Not everyone, but
yeah.
I don't like.
Do your friends and family know what you do now?
Most of them do. All the close ones do.
Okay.
They should.
Yeah, they should.
If they don't need to be my family anymore.
You're excommunicated from this family. All right, cool. Well, awesome. Is there anything, any last things you want to add before we wrap up here, or?
And if you have an idea of something, make it happen. Even if you just dip your toes and be part-time, do it. It's better than. I guess it's better than always wondering.
whether or not
yeah,
you could have done it or something like that. You know,
at least try it, even if you have to half-ass it.
Yeah,
at least you're trying it.
At least you're trying it, right? Better than doing nothing about it.
Yeah, better than doing nothing. When you do nothing, that's when you start regretting.
Yeah, we live in an interesting society where we fear failure, when in fact that's where we learn all the best lessons in life. You know, because imagine if we went to school and every time we started learning about English and math and every time we wrote anything down, it was like correct. Then how do we even learn, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a weird dichotomy, our school system. They punish us for being wrong, but at the same time, we can't learn unless we do something wrong and be corrected with it, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
sometimes you get in trouble for doing the right thing in school.
Yeah, exactly. So weird.
Yeah.
We should correct that. Okay, I think the world should just be, everybody should be entrepreneurs and nobody works for anybody.
At one point, I was trying to convince everyone to be an entrepreneur, but that's my
exactly. I mean, that you gotta have, not everybody's built to be an entrepreneur, and that's the thing, is that, you know, and that's what we talked about a couple episodes ago, is that, you know, one of the things you want to do is check in, is if you want to be an entrepreneur, maybe what's holding you back is maybe entrepreneurship isn't for you. And there's nothing wrong having a successful career in the corporate world. There's absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, you might be just better off making a ton of money in the corporate world, investing wisely, and just becoming an investor. Transition from being a corporate person to just like a full-blown passive investor. You know, there are people who are really good at that, and you know, if that's your path, then awesome. Yeah, like I said, I mean, entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, and quite frankly, I think a lot of people who think they're entrepreneurs really shouldn't do it, because it's just like killing them. Yeah. Whereas people who just thrive in it, I mean, it should be a fun daily adventure being an entrepreneur. And if you're stressing too much about it and it's impacting your lifestyle, I would take a second look. But anyway, that's a topic for another show. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Cory. I mean, I really appreciate you coming down and sharing your story. There's a couple things that I didn't know, and despite me, you know, seeing you every other day, you know, at the gym, stuff like that, I'm very glad that you were able to finally agree and make time to kind of show up and share your stuff. So that's our show for the week. And you know, again, if you found this episode to be valuable and know someone that can benefit from it, you know, what we talked about today, make sure you share it. I mean, really, we're in the sharing economy really right now, with collaboration and everything like that. And if you are a fan, another way to pay it forward is to rate and review us on iTunes, Spreaker, or like the episode on Google Live. Honestly, that's one of the best way for us to reach more people, and how we get the message out there on how to create that six-figure lifestyle, create more successes like this Mr. Cory Freitas here, and helping people transition in their own unique way, right? Not me way, but in their own unique WAY. So anyway, so that's a wrap. Again, thank you all for joining us. Take this week to apply the knowledge from today that you learned from Cory. Have an amazing week, and we'll catch you next week on the Money Lab live podcast from the Six Figure Academy. This is Wei signing off. We have a CPA coming next week. Ooh.